Yo, what's up, fam? You know what it is, man. It's your boy, Sebastian J. Sanders. Welcome back to episode 2 of the Money Mondays podcast. You already know what it is, guys. You know how we start. Episode 1, we got right into it. I gave you guys a scripture. Today, I'm going to give you a song lyric, right? One of my favorite songs off of a really, really good album. I'm a music guy. I'm a music fanatic, rap enthusiast. And so the Blueprint, I think it's the Blueprint 1, right? To me, that is one of, I think that's probably top 10 rap album. Top 15. Top 15. I'm not gonna say top 10. Top 15 rap album. The production from Kanye was crazy. The songs on there was crazy. That was Jay-Z's best album. He probably ain't had a good album since then. That's just my personal opinion. But you know, we can argue in the comments if you want to. Maybe the Black album was good, but he ain't had nothing good since then, in my opinion. But let's get right into it, right? So I'm gonna give y'all a lyric. The song is called Jay-Z, You Don't Know. Crazy song produced by Kanye. The lyric is, I sell ice in the winter. I sell fire in hell. I am a hustler, baby. I'll sell water to a well. I was born to get cake, move on and switch states. Hey, the whole song is crazy, but that lyric stands out because it's the epitome of hustling and entrepreneurship. So with that being said, guys, download the song if you're not familiar with it. Listen to it, get motivated. But it's one of them songs that just, because he talks money, I think he breaks down like how much money he made from the clothing to the rap game. I mean, it's motivating, right? And so my dad used to play that Blueprint album all the time. And like growing up, he used to always play that song, but here, run it back. He like, man, let's run it back. I'm like 8 years old. I don't know what he's talking about, but man, I love the song, man. And I hope that lyric motivates you to truly understand what it's like by being a hustler. But this episode is going to ask you, I'm going to ask you straight up, are you a hustler or are you an entrepreneur? And I want you to take a moment, pause, take a nap, do what you got to do, but really ask yourself, am I a hustler or am I an entrepreneur? Because before we get into the weeds of business, because guys, I told you on this show, we get deep into business, right? But I want to slowly walk you through everything. Last week, we talked about identifying what a small business is. Now I'm asking you, are you a hustler or are you an entrepreneur? Because for you to be successful in business, you have to have the right mindset. And it all starts internally before we can even get to the external, right? So I'm walking you through it. I'm slowly walking you through it, but each week is a layer to the cake that we're making. And we're making a hell of a cake, right? So let's get right into it. Download that song, You Don't Know. All right, so are you a hustler or an entrepreneur? So I'm going to define what is a hustler, right? So hustler focuses on immediate income and quick opportunities. Everybody, when they first start a business, is a hustler. I was a hustler. When I first started my organization, guys, I was selling some t-shirts, like $20 t-shirts. The shirts was terrible material. Man, I'll tell y'all a story, right? So I was on OfferUp, and I was like, at the time, I'm a college student, so I really don't have that much extra money to go out and like invest into the t-shirts. So I was on OfferUp, and I don't even know what I was looking for, but I found this there's like a pawn shop or a resale shop. They had 100 blank t-shirts. And I was like, ooh, okay, I can do something with this. And they were selling each of them for $1. So I said, $1, that's $100. So I'm already thinking in my head, like, if I can get the t-shirts, that takes away the total production cost of the shirts, period. Plus, I had a lady at a print shop that would do the shirts for me at a discounted price because we're a nonprofit, and she loved the mission and she was supporting me. So I ran down there. I got these 100 t-shirts. The sizes was all mixed. They were like dark gray, but the material was so thin. Like as soon as you wash that bad boy, you can use it as a wash rag. It was garbage. I ain't gonna lie to you, it was garbage. But I'm a hustler, right? I'm a young entrepreneur. I just started this nonprofit. We ain't got no money, and we trying to do these events. So I'm trying to figure out ways to bring in some type of income. Plus, at the time, we didn't even have a 501c3. As a legal nonprofit, you have to have a 501c3 to be tax exempt by the IRS. And so ultimately, that's how you get most of your donations. So we didn't have that. So I was just, hustling, just trying to get $20 here, $50 here. So I got these t-shirts made. I think we might have sold like a good 70 of the t-shirts. We didn't sell all of them. I ended up giving most of them away. But the money that I did make from that 70, I was able to do events with and do some stuff with, right? So a hustler focuses on immediate income and quick opportunities. So let's put it into perspective, right? A hustler. Let me tell you what a hustler is. A hustler is somebody that can pretty much sell any and everything, right? See, ultimately, to be a good, successful entrepreneur, you really have to be a good hustler. But you cannot hustle forever, right? So a hustler, t-shirts out the trunk. Tell me it's t-shirts out the trunk, right? This is what a hustler does. Back in the day, we used to do CDs. Y'all remember CDs? From a lot of my young people, they don't even know what a CD looks like. Everything is Bluetooth, aux cord, right? But back in my days, I'm only 27, so I'm saying back in my days. But when I came up, LimeWire was a huge thing. So I was stealing the songs off the internet, burning them onto the CDs. So I was selling CDs. So I was a little hustler as a kid. Maybe you selling some candy at school, right? Maybe you selling some plates at your house. I know a lady, I think her name is Queen Berea here in Houston, Texas. She made burrito tacos during the pandemic, and she talked about she used to sell the plates out of her house. People used to come pull up, get plates. She now has 2 food trucks, and is probably one of the most prominent black-owned food trucks here in the Houston, Texas area. So she started off hustling, but then she soon realized, okay, for me to take it to the next level and elevate, I gotta go out and get the food truck, and then she elevated her business. So these are just an example of what a hustler looks like. You often work solo. As a hustler, you're doing a lot of stuff by yourself, but you on grind mode. You on grind culture. Every day you wake up, how can I make a fast dollar? How can I flip this laptop to $600 today? How can I sell this microphone? How can I sell the shoes off my feet? How can I sell this jacket? Everything is grind mode because you're scrambling for that next dollar. That's the downside of being a hustler in business. You're scrambling for the next dollar. You don't have any systems. You don't have any solutions set up. You're just figuring out, okay, we need $500. How do I flip whatever I got to get to $500? That's a hustler, right? An entrepreneur. I just asked you, are you a hustler or are you an entrepreneur? The reason I'm going to ask you this and I'm going to keep asking you this is because a lot of y'all, 80% of y'all are hustlers. That little 20% are entrepreneurs because we don't know how to take the hustle and develop it into something that is more sustainable, that is more solution-based, but that has systems that we can scale. We stuck on hustle mode because we're so used to the fast dollar. We don't understand the long-term goal. We so used to, how can I make this tomorrow? We're not understanding, how about I build something that I can make over the next year? We only think about tomorrow. That's why I tell people in business, if you're thinking about tomorrow and not about next year, you shouldn't be in business. Because ultimately, yeah, you got to worry about tomorrow. That's important. But in business, you should always be looking at the future. You should be looking at, okay, what's going to happen in the next year? How can I forecast within the next year? In my professional career, when I first graduated from college, I was a sales manager with Pepsi. And the thing that fascinated me about this company, this is $1 billion company. I mean, we was making, I forgot the numbers, but I think when I was in supply chain, we was delivering almost $3 million worth of product daily through our CDL drivers. And that's 130 drivers in a specific region. That's just $3 million in this specific area. So this company was making great money, but it was a really big company, but it taught me a lot about business. One of the things I loved about the company was we were always looking at things that's going to happen within the next 5 to 7 years. So we were on the calls during the pandemic and they were talking about products that's coming out in 2030. And I'm like, man, like, how do they even know what's coming out in 2030? Like, how do you even know what the climate is going to look like? How do you even know what people going to want to drink in 2030, right? But it's fascinating because there were so many systems set up for this company to be sustainable, but ultimately it was building on long-term growth. Now, they could have done the everyday hustling and stuck to figuring out, okay, if we're going to sell 100 Pepsis here, tomorrow we're going to make this amount of money and disregarded the future. But if you disregard the future, your company doesn't grow. So an entrepreneur focuses on long-term growth and building systems, right? It builds teams and structures for scalability. An example of this is launching an online store with automated systems to sell t-shirts globally, right? So let's go back to the board. Y'all know I love this board, right? So we got a hustler and then we got entrepreneur. So ultimately, the hustler is going to be moving the t-shirts out the truck. The entrepreneur is going to go online. Global. We selling CDs to Lil Ray Ray and Lil JoJo in our neighborhood and selling them to our moms and uncles and everybody. But the entrepreneur is going to go streaming because it's more long-term growth in streaming. Digital. Number 3, we selling candy. Right, the hustler is the little guy, the young girl at school. They're selling the candy. They got the Skittles for $1. They got the Reese's Pieces for $2. Man, that's too expensive, but they got the Starburst for $1. Right, they got all the candy and all that. So they selling the candy. They making their money on a day-to-day basis. They got their little team of people selling for them. They hustling throughout the school. But the entrepreneur is going to identify, how can I wholesale this candy? But ultimately, how can I go out and make my own candy? And now I'm my own manufacturer, right? So the entrepreneur takes that hustle, goes wholesale, but then creates their own, right? And then number 4, the example I told you guys about, the lady with the burrito tacos. I'm selling the plates on my car, right? Everybody pulling up to my car, to my trunk, I'm selling the plates. Everybody pulling up to my house, I'm selling the plates out the house. Ain't nothing wrong with that. I got to get it how I get it. But at some point, I got to scale and grow. So the entrepreneur is going to go food truck or restaurant. So hustler and entrepreneur. So I just gave you 4 different businesses and industries, and I showed you how the us hustler does it. But then I take you to the other side that you scared to go to, which is an entrepreneur. And I showed you 4 different ways that entrepreneur takes that hustle into an actual business, right? So ask yourself once again, are you a hustler or you're an entrepreneur? I told you guys I was selling t-shirts in the beginning. I didn't know what I was doing, right? So we took the t-shirts that we were selling for our organization. Now we have the thrift store, right? But we took the t-shirts and said, okay, now we're actually going to create quality shirts. So we can sell them online. We can sell them on our platforms, our Amazon, but we also sell them inside of the store. So we've elevated everything that we've done. Now, I'm not saying as an entrepreneur, you disregard everything you did as a hustler, but all you're doing is taking the basics and amplifying it and elevating it. Because guys, if you're not elevating your business, you're staying stagnant. Staying stagnant is close to nothing. So you're not going anywhere. So in business, you got to figure out, man, how can I grow this out? I don't want to keep doing the same thing, and getting the same results. That's insane. And I know some people that do that. Trust me, I got friends that do that. Every year they do the same thing. Man, I want to be better. What you did last year? I did the same thing I did in 2019. You ain't going nowhere. You ain't going to be better because you're not elevating. You're not figuring out ways to improve. So it's important as a hustler and as an entrepreneur, how do I improve? How do I grow? So we identified what a hustler is. We talked about what that looks like. So now I want to get into something else, right? And so kind of, actually, before we even do that, I want to go back to a talking point here. As you guys will see here on the slide notes, I got a picture of 50 Cent. I'm a huge 50 Cent fan. I'm a G-Unit soldier, right? And man, in 2004, I had the G-Unit Reebok sneakers. I had the white ones with the blue strap. Man, I am a G-Unit soldier. Man, I love 50 Cent. What I like about his career is the epitome of hustler and entrepreneurship. One of the things that he did when he first came out, he launched G-Unit. Well, when he dropped Get Rich or Die Trying, huge album. That's a top 10 rap album, top 5 in my opinion. That album is crazy. Man, I love that album, man. G-Unit, what? Go get me started. Boy, I start rapping and going crazy here. But listen, G-Unit, man. So he started off with this. What he did was so important. The next album that he did was the G-Unit album. This is very underrated. And my father explained this to me because he was saying, like, when you're an artist and you blow up and you sell so much, ultimately you get your own percentages and you get your own record label, right? So 50 was granted the G-Unit label. He could have came out with his second album like within a few months or a year, but he came out with the G-Unit album. He built the brand. So G-Unit went from, a street gang or whatever they was at the time, but they went from that to a record label. So I kind of look at his story. They used to ride around with the G-Unit t-shirts. He used to have his own homies print up the shirts. They had all the other stuff. G-Unit went from being something that was like on a street level to they had the G-Unit album. Every artist got their own solo album. Then G-Unit got a clothing line. Then they got the Reebok line. They got the shoes. Then they got the video game. So 50 took the hustling of the street stuff that they were doing with G-Unit, and everywhere he went, he blew up. But the most important thing was he said, I don't want to continue hustling because he could have easily said, I'm going to come out with my next album because the more albums I drop and the more I sell, the more money I make. But he built a system. When he built that system, I can get paid of me being a solo artist, but I also get paid off of my company now because I don't have to no longer hustle. I'm an entrepreneur. I'm my own boss now. He dropped the G-Unit label. Lloyd Banks came out in 2004 with The Hunger for More. I'm a huge Lloyd Banks fan. Lloyd Banks to me is top 10 lyricist of all time. That's my album. The Hunger for More, man. The first song on that album is Ain't No Click featuring Tony Yayo. The song is crazy, man. Banks come out. I think Buck comes out that same year. Then Yayo comes home from jail and drops his album in 2005. Every single one of those artists, I think all of them went maybe, was it gold or diamond? I don't know. You guys got to quote me on that. But all of his artists successfully dropped really big albums. And so 50 just being who he is, hustling entrepreneur. But if you look at this picture, I got the young 50, this is like 2002. And this is the most recent 50 from like last year. What I like about 50 is he took everything from music, the hustling of music, went to the entertainment industry. And a lot of people say 50 only had like 2 good albums. I think he had 3 because I like Curtis. The Curtis album was okay. But you guys got to understand, 50 pivoted before everybody started to go to entertainment. 50 was doing movies and they was clowning him for doing the movies. Remember he did that movie? Man, he had dreads in that movie. I think he's like a football player that had got cancer or something. It was a weird movie. I don't know what he was doing in it, but they was clowning him up for these movies. But he was ultimately building himself up. Now he got Power. Now he got the 50 Cent Action Channel. He got the Shreveport movie studio. Like he literally hustled his way into these positions. And once he got to a point to where I'm here, I build the system, I build the business. And now I got it all flowing for myself. So I put this picture here because I always relate it back to the culture. I always relate it back to something that makes it easier for people to understand. You can only hustle for so long. If 50 would have kept that hustler's mindset and kept trying to just drop albums and do what he can to make himself a lot of money, I don't think we get G-Unit. I don't think we get the video game. What rapper has their own video game? He had 2 video games. Bulletproof was the first one. I think the other one was Desert in the Sand. No rapper is doing that. Every single one of his artists gets their own solo album and drops successful solo albums. He could have dropped his own solo album second. I mean, his album second. But he dropped his other people's album. He built the system, right? And so tap into that whole 50 Cent business thing, man. Every time he drops an interview, I deep dive into it because there's so many gems. But I watched him as a kid hustle, and you look at this guy now, successful entrepreneur. So wanted to put that into perspective for you all, right? So I got a powerful statistic right here, guys. According to a 2023 survey by Guiding Financial and the Small Business Trends Alliance, 64% of small business owners started their business out of a desire to be their own boss. 64% of small business owners started their own business with their own desire to be their own boss. That is a huge number. While 23% started with a side hustle that eventually grew into a full-time business. So everybody wants to be their own boss. That's the common theme. Everybody wants to be their own boss. But are you ready to be your own boss? So guys, according to the 2023 survey, kind of going back to the statistic, man, 64% of small business owners started their own business because they want to be their own boss, right? So let's talk about it. Let's go back to the white boy. You know, I love this white boy. I'm like Kenny Smith on the NBA show. 64% of people feel like they want to be their own boss. The harsh reality about this is everybody doesn't deserve to be their own boss. A lot of y'all shouldn't be business owners. Y'all got some bad customer service. You have bad products and services, and all you doing is trying to make a fast dollar. Ain't nothing wrong with making money, but some of y'all shouldn't be entrepreneurs, right? Trust me, I be having some. I want to support small businesses, but the customer service thing is just, we'll talk about that in another episode. Don't get me going on that one. But 64% of people want to be their own boss, right? BYOB, be your own boss, right? Everybody wants to be their own boss. But 23% of the people start with a side hustle that eventually grew into a full-time business. And ultimately, guys, that's the key. That's the key right there. Side hustle. I'm putting these numbers up here because I want to show you something. 64% of people think they want to be their own boss. To be your own boss, are you ready to do payroll? Are you ready to do marketing? Are you ready to do supply chain? Are you ready to do operations? No, you're not ready. So you want to stay hustling because you're not ready to take on the other things that come with business. See, business isn't just about me taking pictures, making money. It ain't all about the cute and the fun stuff. Sometimes you got to get down and dirty in business. And that's, to be honest, that's one of the differences between a true hustler and an entrepreneur. A true hustler, you know, is somebody that's going to do whatever they can to make that money. But an entrepreneur is a person that has to learn everything about the business, the ins and the outs. And sometimes they got to put in more work in the business than actually working on the business, right? Sometimes, you know, as a hustler, you can stop hustling tomorrow because I done made my quota. I done made my rent money. I ain't got to hustle no more. As an entrepreneur, you like, man, I still got more things to do. When I opened up the thrift store and I was like, man, I'm stepping away from corporate. I don't want to work no more. I was putting in at least 60 to 70 hours per week going back to my corporate days. I'm only working my 40 and I'm going home, right? So as an entrepreneur, you got to understand, like, yeah, you want to be your own boss and these are things that you want to do, but are you ready to take on the other things that come with it? It's much more than just being your own boss and having that title. You got to do way more than that. On Mondays, I got to make sure bi-weekly at 6 p.m., I got to make sure my payroll is in to pay my employees. I got to make sure the lights is paid so I can have the lights on at the store. I got to make sure that these grammar requirements are submitted so we can be in compliance. It's much more than me just doing the photo ops and doing the cute and the cool stuff. I can't just hustle just to make my own money. I got to hustle because I got people that's dependent on me. That's what a true entrepreneur is. And so, guys, this number, it stands out to me because everybody want to be their own boss, but are you ready? I mean, like, be real with yourself. Are you ready? You know, and so think about that. And the 23%, you know, they start with a side hustle that eventually grow into a full-time business. The sad part about it is a lot of us hustle, but we don't stay long enough in the hustle to see it actually blossom over time. We hustle until we feel like, I done made enough money, I'm good. But man, if you made $10,000 a year side hustling in this side business, and you only put in half the amount of time. What if you put in full time and you tripled that number? You went from 10 to 30. And then you start putting in more time, you go from 30 to 90. So now you went from hustling, but now I'm a full-blown entrepreneur. Now I actually developed this business. That 10,000 I was making, that was little money. Now I blossomed over into 90,000 because I stopped hustling and I built systems into the business. I've hired the right people. I've done the marketing. So now I didn't 10x my money, and now I'm doing good for me and my business, guys. So that's the difference between the two, right? And so this number is alarming, but as I just broke it down, a lot of y'all not ready for that. A lot of y'all not ready to put in the sweat and the equity that comes to it. So stay away from it, because ultimately you're taking money out of other people's, mouths or pockets that's truly out here grinding, and you're just out here hustling. You're just out here hustling. You ain't really worried about systems. You got people that's really doing it as an entrepreneur, but you got people like yourself who come in and kind of mess it up for others. So with that being said, when the hustle meets strategy. So you see this picture of me right here, right? So it's a picture of me when I was in high school. I got my chain on. I had this little crew in high school. We called ourselves Money Team. I'll tell this funny story. We didn't really have no money back then. We were just some young fly dudes. I got this chain big as I don't know what. I got it from, I don't know where I got it from. I think that's some prayer hands. Got my gold watch on. I got my earrings. Hey, I got the all purple T-Raws on. Hey, I thought I was the best thing smoking back then, right? But then you look on the right side, it's essentially the same thing. I got on my jumpsuit. I got on some Jordans. But the difference is I'm a high school senior here. Here I am a 25-year-old, and I'm coming back to speak at my school. I put this picture because as a young man on the left, I was a hustler. I was hustling. I was doing my little thing back then. But on the right side, you see a successful entrepreneur who's built systems, who's grew programs, who has a thrift store. I have all of these elements going on. And now I'm looking at the two. If I didn't truly hustle back then, I wouldn't know how to get back into the school 6-7 years later, go and speak to these kids. And so at some point, the hustling is a positive thing. Don't think I'm shooting down the hustle, right? I want you to understand what I'm putting down. But the hustler at some point has to die for the entrepreneur to be born, right? The mindset, passion, resilience, and adaptability. That's a hustler's mindset. You gotta have the passion. You gotta have that passion to wake up and say, okay, how I'm gonna make $1. You gotta be resilient. You gotta know, like, man, I don't think I hit my quota this month, but I'm gonna keep pushing to keep going, because if I can sell these, I can get to it. You gotta be resilient, because you're gonna get knocked down way more times than you're gonna be up. So truly understand that. And as a hustler, you gotta be adaptable. You gotta know, like, man, this ain't working. Okay, I can't sell these shirts no more. Let me go sell some hoodies. It's cold out here. Ain't nobody trying to buy no t-shirts. I'm selling this candy, but ain't nobody messing with my candy no more. I gotta upgrade my candy. I gotta go get some pastries. I gotta sell some cinnamon rolls or some chips or something. You gotta know when to change the game up, right? So that's the hustler's mindset. A hustler is always changing what they sell, to be quite honest, right? Because what I'm selling today may not sell tomorrow. I'm selling nachos today. That may not sell tomorrow. I may need to switch it up and sell some chicken wings tomorrow, right? So hustler has to always be adaptable. But the entrepreneur strategy is planning. As an entrepreneur, you got to know when to plan, right? So right now, it's New Year's for us in Texas or for around the world. It's planning time, right? Yeah, we're planning for the new year, but I'm also looking at 2026. And I'm trying to figure out, okay, what are we doing through 2025? What's my budget? What's my revenue allocation? How many products or services do I want to get out? What's my supply chain looking like? And what that's going to set me up for 2026. So an entrepreneur is always forward planning. An entrepreneur has systems. Going back to what we talked about earlier when we had the candies and the t-shirts and all that, where are my systems? Do I have a Shopify store? Do I have Instagram shop? Do I have TikTok shop? Do I have systems in place for me to make digital money? And then long-term vision. A hustler don't see past tomorrow, because ultimately they can't, right? A hustler really just trying to see what they can make tomorrow. So as a hustler, like, you don't see past tomorrow. But as an entrepreneur, I have to see the next 5 years, because I got things that we're trying to grow into. I have budgets that I need to hit. I have allocations that I need to hit. I have marketing strategies. I have kids that I want to serve that I haven't been served yet. I got, demographics that I want to market towards. I have so much ahead of me. But ultimately, I have to have that long-term vision. And so, that's ultimately when the hustle meets the strategy. But you got to have the best of both worlds, right? Hustlers are great at starting. Entrepreneurs are great at scaling. Pause the video, go take a nap, go have some lunch, come back to me, let's talk about it. A hustler is great at starting. An entrepreneur is great at scaling. Anybody can start something. I mean, literally anybody can start something. I coach kids professionally how to start businesses. All of my kids start businesses. It takes them years to scale, but a kid to start a business. Anybody can start a business. Nothing wrong with starting it. But a true entrepreneur is somebody that scales. And a real success is when you combine the hustle energy with the entrepreneur strategy. Going back to 50 Cent, 50 combined everything he did to be the music mogul that he is, but now he's in the entertainment mogul. So at some point you gotta take that same energy, combine the two, and that's how you become successful. That's when hustle meets the strategy. So before we close out today, guys, I want to give y'all some books and tips on how to shift your hustler to your entrepreneurial mindset. And these are things that have helped me in my career, right? I got top 5 books and I got practical tips, right? Let's run through these. My first book is Think and Grow Rich. It all starts with the mindset, right? And I know this is a book that everybody and their mama probably has read, but Think and Grow Rich truly changes the way you think about things. And ultimately, to manifest and to be successful and to be wealthy, it all starts in the mental. You can't want to be rich with a poor mindset. You cannot want to have millions and you can't even vision yourself having $1,000. That don't even make logical sense. Oh, I want to make $1 million, but I don't see myself having $1,000 in this business. Then what are you thinking? All right, just be quite honest. Then what are you thinking, right? It's all about the mindset. Second book is Atomic Habits. I love Atomic Habits. It talks about how the small habits create big results. Number 3 is The Psychology of Money. It all starts in the mental. This book breaks it down and it shows you how to accumulate wealth and be successful in business, but it shows you the psychology behind it. It talks about luck. It talks about mindset. It talks about having the perfect timing, all of that great stuff. The Alchemist. The Alchemist follows your purpose and it talks about trust in the journey. This is my favorite. I mean, I love this book. This book defines what it's like to be on that journey of defining your own success, but ultimately it shows you growing from journey to journey, path to path. And then the last one is Start with your why. Define your purpose, and that's how you inspire others. Now, here are my practical tips. These are my 5 money tips I got for you on being an entrepreneur and being a hustler. Number 1, change your environment. You can't want to be a millionaire hanging around a bunch of broke people. I know you done heard that everywhere you go. Just like you in a relationship. Why you hanging around a bunch of single people? All they're gonna do is shoot on your relationship, right? So you gotta change your environment. Like if I wanna be a successful entrepreneur and I'm tired of selling stuff on my cart, let me go hang around the people that's in my city. If I'm selling food plates, let me go hang around the top food truck owners. Let me go hang around the top restaurant owners and let me pick up game. Let me learn from these people, right? Consult with God. A lot of us, we don't do this. We miss out on things because we don't talk to God first. There's a lot of business things that I've done that I did because I was so cocky and arrogant thinking that I'm Sebastian, I could do any and everything, not knowing that the man above has way more higher power and more clout than I ever have and way smarter than I am. He's just giving me the tools to inspire y'all, but ultimately God is leading my life. And so sometimes you got to consult with God to figure out like, hey, God, is this the right path? Should I be doing this or should I pivot to something else? The third one is build systems. This is how you grow from being a hustler to entrepreneur. Build systems, right? Find systems that you can build in your business. Study the competitors. I'm big on idols becoming rivals. I'm not a person that's going to look up to somebody so much that way I build my whole life around them. Study them people. Like how Kobe studied MJ and said, I want to be better than MJ. You got to study these people, right? You know, I see people like, man, I want to be like I'm a professional speaker, right? So a lot of people in my industry, I want to be like Eric Thomas. And I see guys, they whole gimmick is Eric Thomas. I mean, they wear the Jordans, they wear everything. And it's cringy and it's kind of strange because it's like, that's his gift from God. Your gift can be completely different. You got to find your own lane, right? So study the competitors, but don't get too, wrapped around in it. Like study them, take some tips and tricks, but figure out how you can make it better for yourself. And my last one is you set clear goals. Plan long-term, not just short-term. But make goals that make sense. I had a person, man, I want to make $1 million next year. How much money did you make last year? Well, I haven't started the business, but I think I can make it. You want to make a what? And you ain't done what? Ridiculous. I don't listen to people that talk like that, right? So when you set clear goals, make sure these are logical goals that you can actually reach. And that's how you shift your mind from a hustler to an entrepreneur. So guys, last week and this week, we slowly walking through it. But are you ready for week 3? Are you ready for episode 3? Because we're going to get right into the weeds of an operating a business. And I'm going to show you how to truly build operations. You got to see it to believe it. It's Money Mondays. It's your boy, Sebastian J. Sanders.